Good evening, all of my students. Okay, today I'd like to present our topic in Semantics of English Semantic 1. Today is our last meeting before having the middle test next week. So I hope the last meeting will be giving you the useful information about this topic. Okay, my presentation will give you the new insight about this topic, and I hope at the end of this lecture you will be able to memorize the important point of this topic or discussion, so that you will have the sufficient knowledge to answer the question in the task related to this one. Okay, let's start our lecture by discussing about lexical relation. What are lexical relation? Okay, maybe you have heard or known about lexical, non-lexical. And now I'd like to inform or teach you about what lexical relations are. So, a competent speaker does not only have the ability to know an expression meaning involving its definition or inherent semantic content, but also he has the ability to relate to other words of language, specifically about synonymy, antonymy, and meronymy. Describing and accounting for this relationship has often been taken as one of the principal tasks of lexical semantics. Relationship like synonymy, antonymy, meronymy, and so on all concern the paradigmatic relations of an expression, the relation which determine the choice of one lexical item over another. So here I'd like to underline or highlight when we want to have or when we want to achieve the ability to know an expression meaning involving its definition or specifically about inherent semantic content, especially, you are hoped or expected to have the ability to relate to other words of language. In this case, we say this competent as the way of relating the paradigmatic relations, such as the competence in relating synonymy, antonymy, and meronymy, or understanding the technical terms of words of language. Okay, after knowing about the paradigmatic relation, now I'd like to tell you about various types of paradigmatic relation, including their examples. So I have 4 examples of various types of paradigmatic relation. The first one is kitchen. So kitchen is a meronym of restaurant. Meronym. The second one we have often. Often is the antonym of rarely. The third one we have many. Is a synonym of numerous. And then the fourth one or the last one, sushi is a hyponym of Japanese food. So here you can use the standard or the example when you want to refer to the various types of paradigmatic relation. We have the meronym, antonym, synonym, and hyponym. If you want to deliver or offer the example of meronym, kitchen and restaurant could be used. If you want to offer the example of antonym, often and rarely could also be used. If you want to tell about synonym in the paradigmatic relation, you can use many and numerous. And also, if you want to offer or tell about the heteronym, sushi and Japanese food could also be used. Okay, so please tell me about the example of meronym, kitchen and restaurant. And then please tell me about the antonym, the example of the antonym, often and rarely. So please tell me about the synonym, the kind or the example of synonym, many and numerous. And please tell me about the eponym, the example of eponym, sushi and Japanese food. Meronym, antonym, synonym, and eponym are various types of paradigmatic relation. So, could you find or could you understand it? Okay, next. Okay, here I'd like to break them down, okay, into their specific meaning, okay, or specific characteristic. The first one is antonymy. As you can see, antonymy may be characterized as a relationship of incompatibility between two terms with respect to some given dimension of contrast. So when you want to deliver or show, or what we call here, tell about the example of antonymy, you have to propose a relation of incompatibility between two terms or two words with respect to some given dimension of contrast. Two terms or two words with contrasting elements. Speakers of English can readily agree that words like good, bad, love, hate, and in, out are opposites or antonym. The other word of antonym is called as the opposite. So you can tell it as antonym or state it as antonym, and it could be said as opposite. Okay, now I'd like to tell you about some word seems to have more than one antonym, depending on the dimension of contrast involved. Girl has both boy and women, depending on whether the dimension of contrast is sex or age. Sweet has both bitter and sour. Okay, when the word or the term has different dimension or different dimension of contrast, one term or one word could also have more than one antonym, such as girl has both boy and women, depending on whether the dimension of contrast is sex or age. Okay, and also sweet has both bitter and sour. Okay, there is what we call here the level, the different level, or based on the theory, the different dimension. like girl and sweet. Not every word has an obvious antonym. Library of and corresponding are three cases for which there is no obvious relevant dimension of contrast and for which antonyms are consequently hard to identify. So when we have the word like this one, there will be cases for which there is no obvious relevant dimension of contrast and for which antonyms are consequently hard to identify. Okay, like the word or term library and all. Antonyms are not always available. So please take note of this one. Antonyms are not always available. Angry, for instance, does not have any obvious antonym in English, even though we can easily conceive of the scale of arousal and calmness to which it belongs. Okay, like the word angry. It is difficult to find out the antonym of this term or this word in English. Okay, next. We have the meronymy. You have to be able to distinguish between antonymy and meronymy. Okay, because they have the similar sound. Okay, please don't make any mistake in differentiating or distinguishing between antonymy and meronymy and their examples. Meronymy, okay, it derives from Greek word meros, means part, is the relation of part to whole. Hand is a meronymy of arm. Seed is a meronym of fruit. Blade is a meronym of knife. Conversely, arm is the holonym of hand. Fruit is the holonym of seed, etc. So here, we can take the conclusion that meronymy is the specific part of one thing or one, what we call it here, one object or an object. Like I said before, hand is a meronym of arm. So it is a specific part of arm itself. And also seed is a meronym of fruit. Blade is a meronym of knife. So when you chop the fruit, you can find out the seed inside it. And also blade is a kind of knife. Conversely, if you want to make the, what we call it here, the conversion, arm is the holonym of hand. Root is the holonym of seed. So when you want to change it or make the contrasting position, arm itself is the holonym of hand. Root is the holonym of seed. Meanwhile, okay, hand is the meronym of arm, and like I said, seed is a meronym of fruit. Meronymy is nevertheless often at the origin of various polysemy patterns, where a single word has more than one meaning. According to the figures given by Brown and Witkowski, roughly 1 in 5 of the word languages use the same term to designate the I meronymy and the face holonymy, Brown and Witkowski. So the contraction of meronymy is called as the holonymy. Previously, we have the antonymy, and now we have the meronymy. And its counterpart called as holonymy. Similarly, slightly fewer than half of the world's languages polysemously relate hand and arm as paired meanings of the same word, and 39% foot and leg. So it is the argumentation of Witkowski and Brown in 1985. So he has the different perspective in seeing what we call it meronymy and holonymy by using the polysemous meaning. It doesn't matter, but you have to understand or know about the basic concept about which one is meronymy and which one is holonymy or holonymy. Next, we have the hyponymy. Hyponymy. Hyponymy derives from the word hypo. Hypo from Greek means under. Hypo means under. Hyper means above. Okay, please don't forget. Hypo means under. Is the lexical relation described in English by the phrase kind or type or sort of. Kind or type or sort of. A chain of hyponyms defines a hierarchy of elements. Sports car is a hyponym of car, since a sport car is a kind of car, a kind, a type, or a sort of. Sports car, once again, is a hyponym of car. And car, in turn, is a hyponym of vehicle. Okay. Car, in turn, is a hyponym of vehicle, since a car is a kind of vehicle. So you have to relate one object to another one. So one object must a kind of another. For example, like I said, sport car is a hyponym of car. And in turn, car is a hyponym of vehicle in general. Specific, general, more general. Specific, sport car. General, car. More general, vehicle. So a sports car is a hyponym of car. Meanwhile, car is a hyponym of vehicle. Okay, do you get the point? Okay, to improve or to make your insight broaden, I'll deliver or I'll give you other examples of hyponym hierarchies include. Point A, blues is a kind of music. Blues is a hyponym of music. Jazz is a type of music. So jazz is a hyponym of music. Point B, sky, parka. Parka is a hyponym of jacket. Point C, commando, soldier. Soldier is a hyponym of member of armed forces. Martini, is kind, or here is a hyponym of drink, and paperback is a hyponym of book. Okay, now I think you will have the new information or new knowledge about knowing or distinguishing between which one is hyponym by using the theory of kind, type, and sort. If the thing or the object is a kind of one thing, so you can conclude or assume it as a kind of hyponym. With one pattern, the thing referred to is the specific one. Sorry, the general one. Like I said before, a sports car is a hyponym of car. General, specific, general, vehicle, more general. Okay, I think that's it. So, as usual, at the end, you will have the exercise to become your assignment. The topic is quite simple, so I hope everybody will be able to understand it easily. Okay, check your envelope. What do you think about this topic? Is it clear enough? Do you want to deliver or propose one question related to the topic? So I think the concept, the pattern, and the term of this topic are quite the same with the topic in differentiating meaning in Indonesian, like antonymy, acronym, meronym, meronym, synonym. So that those technical terms are the same with in Indonesian, but we have different in example because we are studying English. So I've delivered the examples with the English words. So if you want to change what we call it here, the analyzing or the observation between Indonesian or bahasa Indonesia, you can do it. You can transform the theory, but with the different language from the object or from the object language to the target language. Okay. Do you have any suggestion? Maybe what we call it some aspect that you haven't known yet, or I think it's is it clear or is it enough? What about the online student? Maybe Mr. Gede Madriana, do you have any question related to the topic being discussed?
Thanks, I am okay. It's clear.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Gede. I'd like to remind you again. Okay, I'd like to remind that please study all of the materials given from the first meeting until the second meeting, because or owing to you will have the middle test next week. Please prepare yourself well, and I hope next week you will be able to answer all of the question correctly. I think that's all for today. Thank you for your kind attention and participation. Have a good day. See you next week in the middle test. Bye-bye.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.